I said no to the most dangerous man in the room, and suddenly even the champagne stopped sparkling. The words left my mouth before fear could catch them, sharp and clean beneath the crystal lights of the Grand Regent Ballroom. Around me, 100 faces turned at once, women in diamonds, men in tailored black, all waiting to see if Adrian Moretti would smile, laugh, or ruin me with a single glance. He did none of those things. He just looked at me, still and unreadable, like I had done something no one else had dared in years. Then he lifted his glass, and the whole room went silent. He did not drink. He held the glass at chest level, eyes fixed on me while the string quartet kept playing for people too nervous to breathe. Then, in that smooth, quiet voice that somehow reached every corner of the ballroom, Adrian thanked the hosts for their generosity and announced that any guest who disrespected a woman in his presence was no friend of his. It was not a threat. That made it worse. Men who had laughed at me seconds earlier suddenly looked away. Women straightened in their seats. And I stood there in my plain black dress, realizing he had not punished me. He had changed the room. My cheeks still burned as I set my empty tray on a passing table and walked straight toward him, because pride was the only thing keeping my knees steady. Up close, Adrian Moretti looked even less human somehow. All sharp lines, dark silk, and that impossible calm that made everyone else feel borrowed. "You do not get to do that," I told him, keeping my voice low. "You do not get to turn me into a lesson for this room." His gaze dropped to my face, steady and cold, but not cruel. "And you," he said softly, "do not get to pretend you were ever meant to disappear into it." I should have stepped back then. Any sane woman would have. But something stubborn and reckless held me in place beneath those chandeliers while the city watched from 40 stories below. "I was meant to do my job and go home," I said, "not become part of whatever this is." A faint smile touched his mouth, gone so fast I almost imagined it. "This," Adrian said, glancing around the glittering room, like he owned the air inside it, "is a room full of people who confuse money with worth." Then his eyes returned to mine. "You are the first one tonight who did not." Before I could answer, a woman in silver satin drifted toward us with a smile too polished to be kind. "Adrian," she said, barely acknowledging me, "the mayor is asking for you." I am sure the waitress can find her way back to the service hall. The word landed exactly where she wanted it to. I felt it like ice down my spine. Adrian did not even turn. "Her name is Claire Bennett," he said, calm enough to make the woman blink. "And if you speak to her again, you will use it." The silence that followed was different this time. Sharper, because now everyone knew he had remembered mine. I should have felt grateful, protected. Instead, heat climbed up my neck because he had spoken my name like it meant something, and that was far more dangerous than being ignored. "Do not do me favors," I said, meeting his eyes again. "I did not ask for your rescue." For the first time that night, something in his expression shifted. Not anger, something quieter, almost respect. He took one step closer, not enough to crowd me, just enough to make the room disappear around us. "No," Adrian said softly. "You asked for nothing. That is exactly why I noticed you." And somehow, that was harder to withstand than power. Then the ballroom doors opened again, letting in a draft of cold spring air and a hush that moved faster than music. An older couple stepped inside, clearly uncomfortable, their department store clothes out of place beneath the gold light. I recognized them instantly. My parents. My mother had taken a bus across town just to see the fundraiser where I worked. Panic hit first. Shame came after. They did not belong here, and everyone knew it. I started toward them, but Adrian was already moving, smooth and certain. He crossed the marble floor, took my mother's hand like she was the guest of honor, and said, "Welcome. Claire has been the most impressive person in this room tonight." My father actually smiled, nervous and proud all at once, while my mother looked at me with the kind of soft confusion only mothers can wear without saying a word. Around us, people who had dismissed me an hour earlier suddenly made room, offered chairs, asked polite questions with careful voices. I should have hated him for that too, for proving how quickly the world changed when a man like Adrian Moretti tilted it with one sentence. But when he stepped back and let my parents have the moment instead of claiming it for himself, something inside me shifted. Power had always felt cruel to me. On him, for one impossible second, it looked like grace. When the auction ended and the orchestra shifted into something softer, I found him alone near the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan shining behind him like a kingdom made of glass. Why? I asked, because that question had been burning in me all night. Adrian looked down at the city before answering. Because everyone in this room has spent years bending for power, he said quietly. Then his eyes found mine, steady and impossible to escape. You stood straight. My breath caught on nothing at all. For the first time since this strange night began, I did not see a man trying to own the room. I saw a man who had noticed my soul before my silence.